Latest edition, Warchant Top 40. Thanks so much for being here. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe to warchant.com. You've known about this entire list in advance of this video, but we appreciate you being here and hitting that thumbs up. The Warchant Top 40, the original preseason countdown of the most impactful players that we project for the upcoming season for Florida State. And not just us here on the screen. Cory Clark, lead writer, senior writer for warchant.com. Matt Lasser, staff writer for warchant.com. Does it all. Like our golf guru as well. I'm Aslan Hudjavani. Thanks so much for being here. Gene Williams, Jeff Cameron, Irish Norvell, Tom Lang, all part of the composite rankings that we're going to unveil right now for you folks. So again, we are 20 through 16. We start at number 20, Cory Clark. True freshman on the offense, Osmane Kromah. You have him at 21 on your list. I have him at 25. Matt, you have him right there on the nose at 20. We'll start with you, Cory. Your thoughts on this potential game-breaking running back?
Yeah, it would be really interesting where we'd all have him if Sawchuk hadn't transferred, because I think we all would have felt he's going to almost be thrust into action very, very quickly. But now, because of Sawchuk and the fact, look, man, that guy's had 600-yard games in his career. He had 5 in a row a couple of years ago, was banged up, didn't play much at Oklahoma last year, but he's done it. And we all assume he will probably be the main guy, which is great for Kromah because Kromah then gets a chance to get his feet wet. He's not having to have 12 or 15 carries against Alabama in an opener. Those next 2 games, he can really start to feel what it's like to be a college running back. And by the end of the year, he might be the starter. He might be awesome. He might be a freshman All-American, but I love the fact that Sawchuk gives him a chance to kind of find himself and not be forced into action a little too soon, because I think we all agree, other than Sawchuk, it's not really a dynamic running back room. That's why we think we all have Kromah so high, because we think he has a chance to ascend the depth chart very quickly.
I'm happy he landed at 20, which is what you have him at, Matt. I didn't want to put I've never met the kid before in my life. I just didn't want to put these crazy expectations that we thought he was going to be the starting running back and shoulder the load, although he might have been, Cory, to your point, had it not been for the late acquisition of Gavin Sawchuk. But Kromah, the number 74 overall prospect from this most recent recruiting class. Matt, the number 3 running back, number 11 prospect in Georgia. This was a big get. How do you see him factoring into the offense in the Florida State attack this year?
I mean, I'll put expectations on him to do well this year. I don't care. I think I think at least by the end of the year, he's going to be your starting running back. I don't really have any doubts about that. How early he gets in is kind of up in the air. He probably gets less than 10 carries against Alabama to get in the swing of things, but he will still see a good amount of production and then more and more and more as the season goes on out of summer workouts, because the worry is he didn't enroll early in the spring. So if he hadn't rolled early, you might be able to say he's a starting running back even over Sawchuk already. But since he's late, you need him to get in the swing of things. I have heard good things out of summer workouts, the only thing he's done so far with the team. But yeah, man, they had to go out and pay to get him, and he obviously wasn't cheap. So I think he'll get a lot of playing time by the end of the year.
Let's move to number 19. Now, I don't know to say whether we're going to move over to the defensive side of the ball or if we're going to stay on the offensive side of the ball, but let's lay out on this one, Matt. Let's let Cory school all of us. Number 19, composite, all of us over at warchant.com factoring in Amari Williams checks in at number 19. Matt, you have him at 25. I have him at 23. Cory, you have him at 14. Only Jeff Cameron, who had him at 10, has him ranked higher. Please let us know how you envision Amari Williams, the way he'll be utilized and his impact.
I think this is a potential rank on my end because of what he could mean if he ends up being a dynamic defensive end, just because I think that's such an important position. You've got to be able to affect the quarterback. You've got to get to the quarterback. They think they got a guy in James Williams. They're convinced they got a guy in James Williams. But you need somebody else that can get to the quarterback. If Amari Williams can turn into that, that's enormous for this football team. And he is not just a normal athlete. He's not even a normal good college athlete, a good college lineman. The fact that he played tight end as a true freshman in the ACC, he caught a touchdown against Clemson University, a playoff team. And the very next year, he might be in a line to play a lot of snaps on the other side of the ball. Tells you what they think of his athleticism. And this is he's got some freaky stuff to him. He's at second year. He's 19 or 20 years old. I'm not expecting him to be a superstar, but he could work. If he works himself into the rotation and makes some plays, he has a chance to have a real big impact on this team. And so it's more about what it would mean for the team if he was that guy.
We go to number 18. We'll stay on defense. We'll go over to defense. Pensacola Catholic, Jabril Rawls, cornerback. Probably your number 2 cornerback. Feels like Jeremiah Wilson's got one of those spots kind of locked down. We're going to lay out on this one, Cory, and let Matt school us. You have him at 23 on your list. I have him at 18. So look at that. Like, bam, right on target. Yeah. Our boy Matt Lacera's got him at number 7.
Let's go.
Matt, please.
Yeah, I mean, before Jeremiah Wilson came in, I thought he was DB1 or corner 1. He's been, like, from what we heard out of spring camp, he's been one of the guys who's performed the best in spring camp. And, you know, it felt like every other day you heard he was getting an interception from Norvell at the post-practice press conferences. So, you know, I think he's got a lot of potential there. All the staff raves about him. As long as potential shows on the field, which we haven't seen in a while with this team. But I think he's that next one, that next good DB to come up out of Florida State, or DBU now. That's what all the recruits say. So I'm very high on him. I just think that we've heard too much good stuff out of spring and how many turnovers he was able to cause for him not to be that number 1 corner, or at least have a shot at it.
It was interesting to hear, Tony White talk about, it's like the confidence with Jabril. Like, he would get down on himself too much at practice, but it was like, hey, I think he said something like, shake it off. You're an NFL cornerback. So it's going to be really interesting to see his trajectory, because week 1, you might find yourself lined up across from Ryan Williams a few times, and your confidence could definitely be shaken, but it could also be lifted if you can perform really well against him.
And that's what I wonder about him, just real quick. And not him, like, it's not specific to Jabril Rawls. It's specific to anyone in his spot, is that he has not done it on Saturdays, not at a high level and not a consistent level. He hasn't been on the field a lot. So it's one thing to do it in practice, and he has done it in practice. Like, we saw him last season. He made a lot of plays during practice, but he will get beat. It's how the world works in college football. How does he respond from that, and can he carry over what he did in practice to what he's going to do in a game? And if he does, he is a real player. But sometimes there are guys that just, and I'm not saying it's him. I'm just saying that's why I had him a little lower. Well, everybody had him lower than 7. But the reason I had him a little bit lower was because I have to see it first. Once you see it, there's definitely a lot of there's some tools there, man, and he has a chance to be good. It's just you want to see it first before you're convinced it's going to happen.
We go to number 17, linebacker Stefan Thompson. Matt has him at 24. Cory, you have him at 12. I have him at 8. I feel like 3-3-5 defense. He has the familiarity with Tony White, not only at Nebraska last year, but also at Syracuse, where he was originally recruited to. I know he got hurt after that standout season he had at Syracuse, wasn't at full potential last year in Lincoln. Give me that 2 years removed from your injury, and I think you'll find your form. I know we'll maybe disagree on this. I think, Matt, you've said that you think Elijah Herring is the best linebacker maybe on the staff. I think I think it's Thompson, maybe not athletically, but I think his knowledge, I think maybe not so much his verbal leadership, but I think just his way of carrying himself as a pro, being one of the older guys. I know Herring's an older guy as well, but I just think his familiarity, he'll be sort of teamed with being probably the green dot guy on defense, I would think, if he can be healthy. So I think that would, be the pivot point for this defense, having a very capable, active, productive linebacker. And I think that's what Stefan Thompson would be. We'll go to you first, Matt. 24 feels a little bit low. He was 17 overall.
Yeah, I can't really get over the injuries in the past for him. That's the only issue really I have. I mean, I think it was an ACL at Syracuse under Tony White. That if you look, after he had that injury, he clearly hasn't been the same since. Because before that, the production was off the charts and it was incredible. And he was a really good linebacker in the ACC. But after that, he just never seemed like he was the same guy again. I think he's brought in to be more of that coach, like can coach up these guys on the team, be a coach on the field. I mean, in general, like I've already said, Elijah Herring, linebacker 1 for me, and then Omar Graham, linebacker 2. And that third spot feels up for grabs. It's not like Stefan Thompson couldn't get that third spot and still start, but you have Juice Cryer and you have a bunch of other guys there who will also be trying to get that. Blake Nicholson. So in general, if he gets that third spot, it makes sense, and he could be the best linebacker, but I just can't get over. I need to see him get the same production that he had at Syracuse prior to his injury.
Cory, I need you to pick a side here. Is Stefan Thompson closer to being the green dot on the defense or maybe being like the odd man out, being the fourth best linebacker?
I definitely don't think he'll be the odd man out because he's here and they brought him here and they wanted him here. So they liked he has such a history with Tony White that I use it a lot on Wake Up Warchant, Aslan. He's the grown up in the room, man. He is a guy that I think Cryer has a lot of potential. Maybe Blake Nicholson does too. They have guys that are in that room. It's a lot better than it was last year, but you still need somebody that knows what he's effing doing. And this guy absolutely knows what the F he's doing because he's been in the system for so long. So no, he's probably not an NFL linebacker. He's not going to win the Butkus. But I envision him as Matt alluded to. If he can stay healthy, he's on the field a lot because he knows exactly where they're supposed to be. And how many times last year? It wasn't that Cryer and Nicholson and Graham are just slow-footed and bad football players. They didn't know where they were supposed to be half the time. So now you have a guy that can be the leader, and I just think we can't overlook that, how important it is to have somebody at that position that knows exactly what everybody's supposed to be doing. Theoretically, that will be Stefan Thompson's role. Plus, he is removed a little bit more from the injury, so he has a chance to be productive. But even if he's not the most productive in the world, if he helps the other guys around him be productive because he lets them know what they're supposed to be doing, then he's a net positive on the field.
I think Stephen Curry has ruined it all for us.
It's Stefan, isn't it?
Is it Stefan? I think it's Stefan.
Yeah.
We're going to go Stefan.
I'm going to call him Steph Thompson.
There we go. 16, the final one here on our 20 through 16 composite of the Warchant Top 40. Defensive end Deontay McCrae. He comes from Western Kentucky. He's a Florida native. Kind of fits that edge setting role. Might not be the sexy TFL sacks guy, but will clearly have kind of a role in this defense with this 3-3-5 front, Cory. I've got him at 17. You have him at 24. Matt has him at 9. We'll give Matt a few minutes here to catch his breath and speak up Deontay McCrae. But I would assume he's projected to be one of your starting defensive linemen, and that should get you kind of close to inside the top 20. You had him at 24. We as a company had him at 16.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of holding it against him that he hasn't produced a ton at the college football level, and then I just think the upside. The reason I have Amari Williams so much higher than him, or 10 spots higher than him, is just the upside of Amari I think is greater. But also that kind of I don't want to lessen the impact that McCrae can have because you do need guys that can just hold their own on the edge. Like the one thing you worry about in a 3-3-5 is being run on. And if you have a bunch of guys coming off the edge and you have huge holes in the middle or you're getting pushed off the ball because you're not big enough, then you're going to get run on. And he is a guy that can set an edge, that can hopefully hold up to double teams or single teams and push people and not get pushed out of the way. So he does have a role on this team. I just don't know that he's going to have like a huge, productive, impactful role. But as I've said, Aslan, he is the kid that played in the bowl game, right?
Yeah.
Even though he had already committed. What that says about him, I just can't get over it. So I love guys like that on your football team. For the people that don't know what I'm talking about, he had already entered the portal, but he stayed at Western Kentucky to play in their bowl game because he wanted to go out with his brothers, is what he said. And he really did stay and play in that game. And you guys all lived 2023. Wouldn't it have been nice to have a few guys on that team that wanted to stay with their brothers? So I just think it speaks to the kind of – like he was chasing bigger and better. He was about to go from Western Kentucky to Florida State, and he still risked it to go play in a meaningless bowl game because he wanted to play with his team. And I think those kind of people in your locker room really do help the culture.
Well, why do you have him at 24 then, Cory? Should have had him higher.
I'm an idiot. I meant to put him at 4. I don't know why I put him at 24.
Matt, you got him at number 9 on your list. I'll give you some numbers maybe beforehand. 104 tackles in his career, 59 last year, 3.5 TFLs, 2.5 sacks, 6'4", 274. Pretty decent size as well.
Yeah, I mean, he looks the part. When you see him walk into practice, he looks like a football player. And yeah, the bowl game thing, I think he drove. So it was the Boca Bowl, the Boca Raton Bowl, I think it was. And he drove up the next morning for his official visit. Drove up or flew, but he was in Tallahassee the next morning for his official visit right after the bowl game. Yeah, if you look at lists, like all of our lists together, like we get to, I know everyone else doesn't get to do that, but we get to, for the most part, I have Deontay McCrae switched with James Williams with a lot of people, and that's just because I'm high on McCrae. I think he's going to be really good. Again, he looks the part. I'm just high on him. I think he's going to be a big surprise and be your next, like, I don't want to say the next Jared Verse, but that guy you take from a lower level that you're going to develop well and turn into something really good in Florida State. and has this reputation with defensive ends now with him. So I think that's what you're looking at as someone who could be really good this year.
And you don't need him to be Jared Verse, and we know he's not going to be a first-round pick, but you need him to be a starter, and you need him to be a guy that's a physical presence on your defensive line, which he absolutely can be, and he's that's what he's here to do.
Yeah, I don't think we're thinking double sack totals out of him, but if he can have some sort of impact on limiting a team's ability to run the football, that would be a very impactful role in this team and would merit possibly being number 16 on our list. All right, so there we go. That was 20 through 16. We got 15 more of these. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get an update notification when we drop the next one. I don't know who that might be. Tom, Ira, and Corey. It might be Jeff, Matt, and myself. Who knows? Combinations are endless. We've got you covered like nobody else when it comes to Florida State. We got you covered like nobody else really when it comes to anyone's favorite college football team. We're doing it all over at warchant.com. For Cory Clark and Matt Lacera, I'm Aslan Hajavandi. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. We would appreciate it. Thanks for watching this latest edition of Warchant TV. Stay connected to warchant.com.